Okay, we're coming into Unit 2, Standard 3. This is the last standard of this unit. And what we're going to be doing is solving equations that have an x on both sides of the equals. Okay, so today we're going to work on just level 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to correctly solve equations without grouping symbols, which just means parentheses. There's going to be no parentheses today when we do our problems, but there will be an X on both sides. Okay, so we're going to turn to page 29 and let's get started right away, level 1. All right, so this is page 29. We're still in our blue packet. We kind of crammed everything together for this unit. So page 29, first problem. Let's just take a second to look and see. We've got an X on this side. We've got an X on that side. An X on both sides of the equal. So our line might become a little bit more important for this at the beginning, especially because we got to figure out how to get those together. Okay, so as we go through this unit, here's what we're going to be looking for. We're going to look for those grouping symbols. So do you have parentheses? Because if you do, you need to distribute. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to look for things that you can combine on the same side of the equals. So do you have anything that you can combine on the same side of the equal sign? So you have to have like 2 X's on the left or 2 X's on the right that you might be able to combine. You won't see any of that today. Okay, so what you will see is you're going to see this part right here. So when there's X's on both sides, we're going to get the X's. To one side. By adding or subtracting the smaller X on both sides. So today I wrote that out very, very specifically, but when we go further, it's just going to say get X to one side. Okay, because we're going to know how to do that beyond today. Okay, and then number 4 is we're going to solve our 2-step equation, which is our undo addition, subtraction, undo division, multiplication, and division, which after today, we don't really need to write that down anymore because we've got it. We already took our formative assessment on that, and we know how to do a 2-step equation, so I'm just going to write solve a 2-step equation. Okay, so that's what we're going to keep in mind as we go through this entire standard. But today, we're really just right here. So tomorrow, we'll add on another step, we'll add on another step, we'll add on another step, we'll add on another step as we go through the week. But today, we're just working on how do I get my X's to one side of my equals. Okay, so back to equation A. So what we're going to do, this is what I like to do. I like to look at the 2 X's that I have. Okay, so right here, be very mindful here. The first one I have -6. So I have a -6X over here, and I have a 3X over here. This is the question I'm going to ask you every time we get to this. Which X is smaller? And you don't actually have to do it that way, but the reason I do it that way is so that you never have to worry about negative numbers. Wouldn't that be nice to not have to worry about negative numbers? Okay, so which one is smaller? Well, my -6x is smaller than my +3. So we decide that -6x is smaller. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the opposite. On both sides. Okay, so the opposite of minus 6x is plus 6x. So we're going to add this 6x over so that now I have both of my x's on one side of the equal sign. Okay. What do you mean one side? I still have it on both sides. Well, no, you don't have it over here because negative 6x plus 6x cancels itself out. So actually over here, I only have a 13 left over. 3 and 6, that's 9 x's minus 14. And now I'm back to my two-step equation where I'm going to add 14 to both sides and then I'll divide. So we're right back to where we were in standard 2. We're going to get rid of that add subtract piece by the x. So that's 27. We'll divide by 9. So x equals 3. Okay, let's try that again. So every time we come to a problem where you have x on both sides, I'm going to ask the question, which x is smaller? And once we figure out which one is smaller, we're going to do the opposite to move it over to the other side. Okay, let's go down to this example B. My x's are on opposite sides of my equal sign, because here's my line for the equal sign, so I have one on each side. So I can't just put them together. I can't just go 8 minus 4 is 4. I can't do that because they're on opposite sides. If they were on the same side, I could do the same thing you see and put them together, but they're not. So I've got to do the opposite. But which one should I do the opposite of? Which one is smaller? My positive 8 or my negative 4? This negative 4 is smaller, so I'm going to do the opposite of that on both sides. So I'm going to plus 4 on both sides. Could I subtract 8 to both sides? Absolutely you could, and you would still get the same answer. But the difference is you'll be dealing with negative numbers versus dealing with positive numbers. So that's why I like to do it that way. Okay. I'm going to go from left to right. I'm going to bring down my negative 7 plus, add those two together, that's 12 equals, these 4's cancel each other out, so I no longer have x's on both sides. I just have them on one side now, and now I know what to do because we've been practicing that for a long time. So I'm going to add my 7 to both sides because a negative 7, the opposite would be plus 7. So those 7's will cancel each other out. So I've got 12x equals 24. Divide by 12. And x equals 2. Okay, one more time. My x's, I've got a 9x over here, I've got an 8x over here. They're on opposite sides of the equals, so I cannot just put them together. Which one is smaller? 8x is, and that 8x happens to be positive. So the opposite of positive 8x is minus 8x. So I've got 1x, which you actually don't have to put the 1 on the front there. 1x minus 2 is equal to 7. Now, when you get to this point, you're not asking yourself which one is smaller. You're just getting rid of the one that happens to be next to x. It doesn't matter which one's smaller. It doesn't matter which one's bigger. Get rid of the one that is standing next to the x. I want x to be alone. I don't want any other numbers by the x, so I just get rid of whatever number is by the x. So 9 over here. Bring down my x, and I actually don't have to divide this time because there's no number in front of x. You could divide by 1 if you wanted, but you really don't have to. Okay, so you've got 6 problems below here that you can try by yourself and enter those into GoFormative to see if they're correct.